Hello everyone and welcome to Jurassic Park, or the start of it at least. We are right now finishing up on the visitor center. If you haven't watched the first episode where I laid down all of the fencing, I suggest you watch that first because as I kept reiterating in that video, it is the most important part to get right, the layout of the fences. Once you get that right, everything will sort itself out as you build from that. If you don't want to miss any of the future episodes, please consider subscribing to the channel. That would really mean a lot to me. We are so close to 2,000, which is so exciting to me. I cannot believe it. And yeah, then you won't miss an episode of this Jurassic Park build. Don't forget to turn on the notifications, by the way, so you never miss an upload. I'm struggling with the path right here because the hitbox around the building is a little bit bigger than I had hoped. But we're just going to continue our building. In this episode, I'm not really sure what we're going to be doing. But I think I'm going to be starting the tour. I'm going to be adding just trees and hills and stuff to the exhibits. And maybe bring in the first of the dinosaurs as well. We'll have to wait and see. I did this park build yesterday, so what you're hearing right now is my voiceover as we're just going to watch this rebuild together. I was just in the zone. As I prefer to build, just enjoying the music, enjoying the obsessive-compulsive, meditative nature of it all. And I completed the entire park build in about 3.5 hours. And yeah, so if you want to recreate Jurassic Park for yourself in Jurassic World Evolution, you can watch this video. We're going to be watching this build in real time. And hopefully it will not be too boring. I'm doing this voiceover just so I can explain to you what I'm doing, explain the process behind it, so that will hopefully help you when you try to build Jurassic Park on your own. And the reason I'm doing it in real time and not really as a speed build, well, mostly because I did a poll on my community tab asking you guys, what you prefer. And most of you preferred a real-time video so you could see everything properly. But also, so you see that, it takes some time. If I do a speed build, it might, give the wrong impression that you can do it pretty quickly. It's an investment of time if you want to get it right. This park build, I should repeat if you haven't seen the last episode, it's based on what we see in the movies, so we're going to be recreating some famous movie moments, but also it's based on a map view, or a map layout that I found online. Not all of the maps agree with each other on how what it was supposed to look like. So that's it's a bit of well, how should I put it? You have to make the decision for yourself which version you're going to stay true to. And I chose one particular map to follow to help me with the layout of the park, because obviously in the movie we don't see that much. Now, I did spend quite some time getting this tour track right along the path. What's difficult about it is I wanted to get it as closely to the path as possible, but the curve was pretty difficult to imitate, and right now is where you would have heard me cursing if I had done this voiceover while I was building, because I forgot to switch to the paved version of the track when I was laying it down, so yeah, I've forgotten that quite a few times, actually, if I remember correctly. Yeah. It's kind of funny seeing myself rebuild this, and watching along. So I deleted the back half of the path in hopes of getting it a little bit more closely to this front half circle. It's just a matter of trying to figure it out. That's really all there is to it. There's no rhyme or reason, let's put it that way. There's no instructional manual. Okay, now we gotta put the path back in. It's gonna be a tight fit back there. I really wish the game wouldn't have such large hitboxes around objects, around the trees and such as well. The signs are a lot better. They can get placed really closely to paths and stuff, but unfortunately, most of the other things in the game really need their personal space. And it's quite finicky when things are this close together to select the right thing when you want to delete something. And there you go, I clicked on the wrong thing. Again, this is where you would have heard me cursing and saying to myself, oh my god, this game needs an undo function so badly. I also mentioned that in a video I did a while ago where I talked about the 30 improvements needed for Jurassic World Evolution if there ever is going to be a sequel. And a Ctrl-Z function is one of the main things I need for this game because it's so frustrating when you accidentally delete something that you didn't mean to delete. It's very frustrating. So at this point, I was probably still cursing at this point. I can get really frustrated by stuff like that. So yeah, now I have to do that again. I think I did, yeah, and again I forgot to click the paved tour track. Oh man. Oh, I was a mess at this point. I think I also became a little bit less perfectionist. I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine, whatever. I've done this 3 times at this point. But it still looks okay. It's acceptable. I actually think I'm going to be redoing it another time because I think I switched to the dirt tour track a little bit sooner in the final version. But it doesn't really matter. I do hope that these videos are actually helpful to people. I get that they're not going to be the most exciting. It's just going to be me, you know, fumbling around, trying to figure things out. I'm saving the game at this point just in case I screw up and delete the tour track again. So here you go, Jurassic Park OG original. I was getting really frustrated. No, no! It's just really difficult when you're trying to delete something to pick the right thing. It can be very frustrating. The game can still be very frustrating at times, no matter how much I absolutely adore it. Okay, so we're gonna move on and put down the water. You know, this is all based on what we see in the movie, of course. I don't think there were lights in the movie, but I just wanted to add one. Actually, no, I do think I did see a light on the left side, and I just figured it's gonna be at the right side as well. I rewatched certain parts of the movie to try and inform my design decisions, but I also took a lot of creative liberty because, you know, there's only so much you can do in the game in spite of all of the improvements with the new buildings, of course. So in absence of lily pads, we're just dropping some shrubs in. I just keep checking things to make sure it looks the way I want it to. You know, I wanted this tree line to not be too thick so we could still see the visitor center through there. I did have a lot of fun with this rebuild, even though a couple of people have been asking me to do a Jurassic Park rebuild, and I wasn't too enthusiastic to do it initially because rebuilding something isn't the most motivating, I guess. I always like creating my own things, and I knew that trying to do an exact replica could be tedious, and it could also cause people to get quite upset, because I'll readily admit that even though I love the movie, I've seen the movie at least once a year since I was like 10 years old, and I have read the novel a couple of times. I'm not really paying attention to the little design details of the park. You know, I get swept up in the story, so I know that recreating this, people might get upset, saying things like, "Oh, there's not supposed to be a light over there." So I was kind of scared of tackling this rebuild, but you know, I had fun with it in the end, just doing my own thing with it, and I actually really think that it turned out looking the way Jurassic Park might have looked, you know, with some margin of error. We're going by my compass again. I'm just deleting all of these shrubs so the dirt will show up later. I know, actually, there is a lot of modding going on recently, and people have been pointing that out to me. Oh, we're going to move the helipad. That's interesting. So the helipad is all the way down here. So we have a nice long trek for the jeeps, which is similar to what it's like in the movie. You know, they have to drive quite a while until the jeeps reach the visitor center, so that's why it's all the way down here. But yeah, I saw that the modding community is a lot more active now for Jurassic World Evolution, so I'm guessing there's been some sort of breakthrough, and a lot of people have been pointing it out to me. I'm really hesitant to include modding myself. I haven't done so yet, and I'm not sure I will. First and foremost, it must be said that technically it is still not allowed. It might be condoned, you know, practically, but it's not exactly allowed, so I'm afraid that if they do want to, they can make a unwanted situation for you. And also, I'm just afraid of things going wrong in the game maybe crashing or something. I don't like really downloading mods and stuff. That's probably really old-fashioned of me. But one mod that did tempt me, I was really tempted, was a new mod of the mud texture, or dirt texture. Because what we have in the game right now, dirt, is just sort of, it's not really dirt. It's more like grass that has been walked on a lot. So, you know, it's not really brown. It doesn't really stand out. I mean, as you can see right now, there's a couple of patches of dirt on the grass, but you can barely see it. And there is a mod that used a real brown, muddy texture. And I absolutely love that. I even got so far as signing up to Nexus, but then I was like, no. Let's think about this for a second. But yeah, I'm really contemplating downloading that mod just because the dirt texture is a pretty big disappointment in the game. I really wish that they would change it, that Frontier would change it. So now that we've placed the helipad, and I've placed a ranger station by it just so I have the jeeps nearby for recreating the original Jurassic Park scenes when we do the tour in the final episode. Now what I'm doing is I'm surrounding it by, well, we're gonna call it cliffs or mountains, but really it's just a big hill. That's as much as we can do in this game. I would love it if the game engine would support the kind of terrain manipulation that we see in Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster. That would be fantastic. But alas, we don't have that option. So we're just going to add a hill on this side and also on that flat surface at the back behind the river, you know, to recreate that closed-in feel as much as possible from when they arrive via the helicopter. And I think it ended up looking pretty good. You know, again, with the limitations of the game, we just gotta work with what we got. Here you go. Elevating that back bit. It's such a long process, people. It is such a slow and long process. But, you know, while I was doing it, I didn't experience it that way. I have the patience of a saint. When I'm actually building, that is. Right now, I'm like, Jesus, hurry up. Also, one thing I noticed for the very first time, actually, is that transport rating doesn't do anything. I don't really remember if there is a transport rating or not. I think that it's even just that it's not there at all. So you don't have to worry about long paths and stuff. That's a relief, because initially I thought, okay, what are we supposed to do without the equivalent of the Jurassic World monorail? We don't have something similar in the Jurassic Park era, but, you know, we can just add a path as long as we want, and it doesn't affect your rating. That's really great news. I don't know why I hadn't realized that before, but I just realized it today, or yesterday, I suppose. So that's why this long-ass path that goes from the helipad all the way up to the visitor center doesn't actually affect the rating. What is going to keep down the rating of this park is the low number of dinosaurs that are in the park, and also a low number of dinosaurs with a high rating. Of course, we have Rexy. I also added Metriacanthosaurus and Baryonyx, so those would be the 3 highest rating, along with the Brachiosaurus, of course. But that's it. So that's not a lot to bump up the dinosaur rating, and that's something that holds down the rating overall. Now I'm just adding the double gates that the jeeps go through when Grant and Ellie, Ian, Gennaro, and Hammond first arrive on the island. It would have been really cool if they had added those original Jurassic Park gates. I think these gates, which are just reworked Jurassic World gates, they're a bit of a disappointment. They're not. They don't scream Jurassic Park. You know, with all of the attention paid to the visitor center, for example, it's kind of disappointing that we don't get really new fences. Gates, sorry. We do get new fences, we don't get new gates. It's basically just a recolor. But that's me being nitpicky. I'm having a think. Still thinking. Let me know in the comments if you've already tried recreating Jurassic Park in Jurassic World Evolution, and if you have any tips for me. Obviously, the park is already completely built, but I could use all the help I can get, and I don't mind going back in later to redo some things if you guys have really cool suggestions. So now I'm going to add a path for the Jeep to go by. When you first see them in the Jeep, they go through kind of a muddy area. There is a muddy cliff on one side of them, as you know, Gennaro has his conversation with Hammond in the Jeep. So that's something I try to recreate to the best of my abilities. And of course, you know, just laying down a dirt path that I can follow later to take the Jeep up to the visitor center. So here I'm adding a long stretching hill to sort of replicate that. And unfortunately you can't add trees as well as dirt on the same square footage. So again, it's a game of compromise. There you go, adding some trees. Yeah, I really wish that I'd have a different dirt texture. That'd be really cool, but I'm kind of hesitant about doing mods and stuff. I tried the rock texture, but I didn't like it in the end. Okay, so what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start adding more elevation to the park. When we have a look at the Brachiosaurus scene, when they're looking down at the lake with the Brachiosaurus, the Parasaurolophus, and the Pachycephalosaurus, I think, are popping up in that scene as well. You can see that the terrain behind is elevated in 2 different levels, so that's something I recreated right here. So we're going up on the first level, and we're going to go 1 higher after that. And I just think adding hills and elevation makes a park more interesting anyway. It's something I do quite a lot, instead of just keeping a map entirely flat. By adding some elevation, some height difference really makes a park look more natural. And of course, on top of the hill is going to be Rexy in the end. And there's going to be a height difference within the T-Rex enclosure itself to replicate that, you know, there is a part where the T-Rex can simply step out of the exhibit when she's ripped through the fence. But there's also that part with the concrete drop-off. Which people, by the way, still seem to think is a movie error. I don't think it is, and I think you'll see how I interpret it when we get to the T-Rex enclosure. Of course, we can't really recreate it because the terrain manipulation isn't that extensive, but the basic idea is the same. And of course, as you saw, I'm using the water brush to level things really quickly and really easily, and then just delete the water. It works so much better than just using the elevation tool, the terrain tool. Oh, sorry, hit the microphone like he wanted me to. It works so much quicker that it allows you to play around with terrain levels much better. And it's just a more enjoyable experience, especially when you need to flatten an entire map, a big map like this. It really helps to just use the water brush. And for the edges, you can go back and use the actual terrain manipulation tool. I think I'll be reworking this area quite a bit later on, or maybe I'm having the thought right now, yeah. This is going to be the Triceratops exhibit, and the Triceratops actually seems to be laying in sort of a canyon, or at least a lowered area, and the tour vehicles go by on a bit of a raised ledge. At least that's what it looks like in the movie. It looks like they're looking down on the sick Triceratops, so that's something I aim to replicate in that back corner. I'm having another think of what to do. It's really interesting to watch yourself build a park. Yeah, so I'm just continuing with the Triceratops exhibit, lowering that bit, and at the left side I'm going to raise that edge, and that's where the tour truck is going to pass along. Right there. And what I will be doing, I don't know if I do it right here, is I'm going to be adding dirt texture all over. I'm smoothing it out here so the trucks can go up more naturally. I added dirt texture because, you know, the Triceratops looks like she's kind of in a more sandy, muddy exhibit. And of course, famously, they kicked dirt and mud onto the animatronic to make the blue Triceratops look completely like a reddish brown. So it was definitely a muddy exhibit. Just continuing the path that our rangers are going to take when they pick up our guests at the helipad. I'm continuing with the tour track now, but I redo this section from here to the flaming gate quite a number of times because I didn't really have complete forethought. So right now I'm going pretty much straight through the center. By the end, I'm going to move it over to the left quite a bit. Unfortunately, that means it goes right by the path for the jeeps. But I needed that little space on the side for the lodges and other guest facilities. So here I was reconsidering where to let the jeeps come through. And I thought I was going to let them come through the side. But I changed my mind quite a lot during building. It's just a lot of figuring things out as you go, basically. So yeah, all of this I'm just going to undo later. So don't do as I say, not as I do. Don't do this. At least I don't recommend it. You can definitely do this, but I decided against it in the end. I wonder when that epiphany is going to dawn on me that, oh, no, you know what? No, let's not do it like that. She's looking at it. She's thinking about it. She's thinking about it. Yeah, and there she goes. She's changed her mind. Yeah, go ahead. Delete it. You want to delete it. Trust me on this one. Go ahead. No, you don't want to cancel. You want to delete this. This is so funny. There you go. Okay. No, you had it right the first time. Go back to the first time. Oh, man. Oh, if only the map was even bigger than it is now. I know that it is the biggest map that we have in the game, which totally baffled me, by the way. I thought it was much smaller than it actually is when I first saw it. But I really wish it was even bigger. So basically, I just want a map that is the entire shape of Nublar. Just, you know, just that big. And then we can, what we could do is, like, recreate the entire Jurassic Park in just one bit of the island, like they did in the movie, as you can see on the map I used as a reference. And then just use the rest of it as wild open space. The same goes for Sorna. We're coming up on the first edit that I'm going to do. I'm going to be cutting out a small part of the video because I was having trouble with the tour tracks locking onto the gates with the classic Jurassic Park gate actually being reversed, so it was facing the wrong way. I had to struggled with that a lot because I had envisioned adding a little bit of an extra fencing where the gate could go through, but that's where I ran into the difficulty of the gate facing backwards, but it's facing the right way now, so this is what I'm gonna go with. In the movie we actually see that there is quite a bit of straight path heading up to that gate, so that's something that I wanted to recreate, and that's why initially I wanted to just extend the fencing out a little bit so it could go completely straight through, not curve first. But I had to attach it to the actual perimeter fence itself to get the gate to face the right way. But this placement I ended up changing in the end. The problem with it is that right now the tour goes through the Brachiosaurus exhibit first. That's where the Brachiosaurus are going to be. And from the movie, it is suggested that the first dinosaur paddock that they come across on the tour is the Dilophosaurus paddock. So I ended up, in the next video, I ended up moving the gate down to, actually, you can see right now where we have the compass, where it's pointing east. That's pretty much precisely where I'm going to have the gate enter through the perimeter fencing. But that's all for the next video. Right now I'm just laying down a bit of path, which is going to go all the way up to the top eventually to connect to the visitor center, so all of the buildings are operational. But I'll also be attaching incubation labs, or hatcheries as they're called in the Jurassic Park era, because of course we still have to breed our dinosaurs, and unlike in the movie, that doesn't actually happen in the visitor center. That would be cool though. But I'm going to be attaching the hatcheries in just a moment, and then that's going to be the end of this video. I really do hope that this park building series on the original Jurassic Park is helpful to those who are still trying to figure out how to build their own version of the park. I get that it's not the most exciting park building series. I do apologize for that. But, you know, I let you guys vote, and most people voted to see everything real time. So that's just something that I wanted to do for you guys. And I hope it's at least helpful. And if not, maybe a little bit entertaining watching me fumble around and screw up a couple of times. So before I'm gonna end the video, please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on the next episodes where we're going to be continuing our park build and actually adding dinosaurs to our dinosaur tour. And of course, in the end, we will be doing a finished tour of the park, and everything will be uploaded before Christmas. So, you know, we're uploading at a brisk pace. So subscribe and ring the bell if you don't want to miss a thing. Thank you for watching, and until next time, enjoy the game.